Welcome everyone to the Week 13 Hambone Fantasy Football Update. I'm your host, Commissioner Hambone. By golly, Miss Molly, it is playoff time again. Can you believe it? It seems like just mere days ago we were, getting through the draft and selecting our divisions and whatnot. So, goodness gracious, can you believe it? Alrighty. Well, this week we have, we're going to look back at last week and then also look forward to the coming playoffs. Let's start off with some highlights. First up, shout out to, no, not a shout out, but just in a game, Leland Lizards defeat My Burger Kings 122 to 117. Heck, that's worth a shout out. Good for you. The Lizards were led by Latavius Murray, who had 20 rushes for 82 yards and scored 2 touchdowns. So good job there. That was worth a total of 28 fantasy points. So good job there. And in our game of the week, we had really the battle for the last playoff spot. And that was Fezzik and the Brute Squad taking on the Kickin' Chickens. One of the bottom teams really taking on the top dog this season. And Fezzik did get it done. It was 172 to 150, led by, of course, Jordan Howard, who had 32 rushes, 117 rushing yards, and 3 touchdowns, totaling 38 fantasy points. So, half of that equation worked out for Fezzik. They won their game. Unfortunately, Leland won theirs as well, so that kept Fezzik out of the playoffs. So we thank you, and we will miss you. Hope to see you next year. All right. So that means all 8 playoff spots are locked. Before we get to that, I did want to do a couple little quick shout outs. Mr. Just in Time, even though they didn't have much to play for, they were playing for pride, and they had this week's MVP. Let me go back a second. Shout out to Fezzik, of course. They won the game of the week and also breakout game of the week with 172 points and, winning, of course, the game of the week. I'm scatterbrained right now. There's just so much going on. Okay, back to Mr. Just in Time. Yes, they didn't have a lot to play for. It was playing for pride. And they had this week's MVP, that being, of course, the Bears defense, who just held and only allowed 6 points. That scored them a total of 40 fantasy points. So, fantastic job to them. What else? Oh, as I had mentioned, because Fezzik didn't get into the playoffs, that means Leland did, so Leland locks up the 8th and final spot. So, good job to you. Also, we had some division winners. As I'd mentioned, it had been locked up a couple weeks ago. The Kickin' Chickens had locked up the Viagra division, but it is now finally official. They've been awarded the trophy with a 10-3 record, 7-1 of the division. The Kickin' Chickens win the regular season Viagra division, and then, due to some tiebreakers, we finally have a winner of the Cialis division, and that, of course, is the Silver Bullets. They finished the season 7-6 with a 5-3 divisional record. They won due to a head-to-head tiebreaker with 20 minutes with Tebow. Even though they both had a 7-6 record, Bullets had beaten Tebow twice this year. They swept the series. So both of those, the Kickin' Chickens and the Silver Bullets, are awarded $50. So congratulations. All right. Now what you're all waiting for, the playoff selection show. All this time, I'm just going here, there, and everywhere, trying to remember everything we need to cover. But now this is what everyone really cares about, and that would be our playoff bowl games. Woo! All right. Starting with the Clementine Bowl. That would be the number 2, 20 Minutes with Tebow taking on the number 3 Roman Empire. Tebow comes in, as I'd mentioned, with a 7-6 record. Roman Empire had a 6-7 record. Roman Empire also earns that 3rd seed over Leland Lizards for a similar reason. They had the same record, but ended up having a what do you call it? They had swept the series. So Roman Empire had 2 wins over Lizards, and that gives them the victory and the 3rd seed. So Tebow takes on Roman Empire, a battle of 2 versus 3. When those two faced each other this year, Tebow won both matchups. So, at least initially, I think the money's on Tebow. Next up, in the Crocodile Bowl, number 1 seed Silver Bullets take on the number 4 seed Leland Lizards. Of course, this is another matchup of 7-6 versus 6-7. In this series this season, the Bullets go through the Lizards with no problem. Also winning the series 2-0. In the Wool Bowl, the number 2 seed Hambone Burger Kings take on Super Saucy Spaghetti. This is a battle of 7-6 teams. In this series, both games were won by my Burger Kings. But in looking at the playoff preview, it looks like Spaghetti might have the edge. Who knows? And finally, in the Carnation Bowl, the granddaddy of them all, as they would say, the Kickin' Chickens take on the Nowhere Elder Dragons. Kickin' Chickens had 10 wins and 3 losses this season, and they take on the completely neutral Nowhere Elder Dragons, who had a record of 6-1, completely even 500. In both of these matchups, Kickin' Chickens won. So, in all 4 of our playoff games this week, one team had a 2-0 record against the other. Which would tell you, I think anyway, that if there was ever a year for this bracket to go chalk, you know, that being 1's beating 4's and 2's beating 3's, and then 1 beating 2's, and then 1's taking on the other one, this might be the year to happen. Who knows? So, me personally, I think you cannot overlook Kickin' Chickens. They've just been running roughshod over the whole league. Some would say that even me declaring that is the kiss of death for the Kickin' Chickens. If that's the case, I do apologize. All right. Well, that's what we have so far for this week. Finally, just to go over, just had mentioned it before. What was it? Oh, right. Please make sure to submit any potential rule changes you might want to see, and Also, be on the lookout in the message board. There may be some end of season awards we'll need you to vote on, so that'd be great. And a shout out to my man Wayne, owner of the Roman Empire. He is getting married this weekend, and it was very nice enough to invite me and participate in the wedding. So looking very much forward to that. Alrighty. Well, you all have a great one, and good luck. See you next week.